Hello and welcome to the Doctorate Program and Project Understanding, a Lyons University course brought to you by the USA-Canada Lyons Leadership Forum. My name is Past District Governor Wendy Kane, and I'll be kicking us off this evening. It's nice to see some familiar names with us on the attendee list, and I know many more will be participating by watching the video in the future, so I'd like to welcome all of you. I would also like to remind those of you that are with us live for this evening's webinar that it will be recorded for those that cannot participate live, or if you would like to review the material at a later time. There'll be a couple of ways that you can engage with us on this particular webinar. We will be using the questions pane, and a few of you have already found that and offered some greetings. So hi there, Michael and Paul, Lyons, Michael and Paul. Glad to have you with us. Feel free to use the questions pane, and we'll use that to facilitate questions or comments as they might come up. You can also raise your hand and we can unmute you if you've got an audio system set up with a microphone that you'll be able to converse with us that way. So those will be the two ways that we'll use primarily on the webinar this evening. So we'd like to take a moment and just give you a quick orientation to our Lyons University Doctorate program. As most of you know by at this point, having gone through the first two levels or working your way through those, the lyonsuniversity.org is where you can go to get all of your information. Each of our three programs has a starter page that lists links to all of the courses. And this particular topic, the doctorate program overview, is course number 300, and it is the only required course for the doctorate program that is designed to help Lyons lead and be trainers for other Lyons and adult learners. So the doctorate program involves the completion of the one required course and at least 9 electives, and Pastor National Director Terry will go into that in a little bit more detail in a moment. From the course page, you'll be able to see all of the courses that are currently available as well as those that are scheduled. And each course will also have links to materials and information that's available to help relative to the specific topic that is being discussed. The sample here is from the bachelor's program that shows the summary of the courses, and should probably replace this because all of those courses in the required listing are now all available. So it's an old screen capture. When you log in to take a course, just as a reminder, this is not the same username and password that you might have for the Lyons Forum website and your membership account there. Some of you have chosen to use the same username and password, but that is not necessarily required, and those two systems do not link. So after you participate in a webinar or watch a video, then you can scroll down to the end of the course page and select the button to mark as completed, and that will make the quiz available for you to take. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you our faculty for this evening's webinar, Pastor National Director Terry Graham. Lyon Terry is the coordinator of our doctorate program and has been critical in helping us as we've kicked off the bachelor's and master's programs, learning, weighing in, and helping us as we develop and evolve those programs, and also setting the stage for a successful doctorate program. And so if you would please join me, I'm going to unmute Pastor National Director Terry and let him take it from there.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you very much. First of all, let me thank everyone for attending tonight. I can see up here in Canada we have a blistery day going on here, and I see some of my friends from Canada here and central United States, but I also have some people from Florida who are basking in the beautiful sunshine down there, probably in the heat. but I want to welcome everybody here today and just to go over a couple of technical things. Can everybody hear and everybody see the screen? If there's anything that you can't do, then just type it in the search question there and we'll be able to answer those questions. But if we're all up and ready to go, I think we should start just with a little bit of background on our Lyons University and all the other courses. We've just jumped right into the courses itself, and we'll be able to talk a little bit about why we started the Lyons University and how it got developed. And the discussions really started about the time we were in Anchorage at the forum in Alaska, and we were trying to develop something that would give our attendees just a little more input into developing skills to be presenters and to broaden our scope, and it actually fell under the education team. Obviously that's where it should be with our seminars and our LEO programs, youth programs. The education team fit very well into the Lyons University, so we worked with that particular group. And we had many discussions with Lions Club's International Leadership Division. One of our main concerns were that they may feel that we were trying to compete with them in any way to overshadow what they were doing, and obviously that wasn't the case, and we've had many discussions with them on the onset. And actually after the first doctorate programs, the bachelor and the master's program came out, the Online Learning Center actually had an increase in activity from some of the people that had gone to the forum and wanted to compare some of the programs that we were presenting with the Lyons University and at the forums with what was online. So it really helped boost them. So our first forum was in Grand Rapids, and it was actually our first forum in Grand Rapids was our first graduation, and it kind of developed into a kind of a friendship when we did our graduating night. I couldn't believe the amount of people were there, and I can see by the names on our list tonight that many of you were there, and what a great turnout it was, and how filled that room was, and how actually the number of family members that were there to be welcoming the graduates and helping them graduate or to celebrate some of their accomplishments for the year. So tonight's objective, we want to provide an overview of the doctorate program, obviously, and the second part was to detail the project requirements that we need to have to move forward. So I want to go on to the next slide with the Understanding the Lyons University. And a year-round program is what we wanted to provide for the USA Canada Lions Leadership Forum, and we're only one of the many forums that participate in around the world at different times in the year. But we're kind of unique in a way because we do have two constitutional areas involved with it, with Canada and the United States. And we found that we had a one long weekend learning at the forum, and we felt that sometimes that we needed an ongoing program that would be lasting year-round, so that over the course of the year we could be able to share ideas and converse with each other and be able to have an ongoing learning experience. It's important that it provided the training opportunities not only for the forum attendees but for others that weren't at the forum, and for everyone, even some of the other countries that have been around the world have actually logged into our site and are taking our programs and using them. And some of the areas that we're looking at was providing more training for leadership development opportunities. And we wanted to give our forum presenters a chance to present other topics. Something they may be interested in presenting and giving to the forum as an idea for a presentation, and also to give more opportunities to our Lions members to develop presentation skills. And I think everybody agrees that when you sit at the forum and you're sitting and you're participating in a session, it really doesn't give you the opportunity to develop any presentation skills. So we're going to try to create more training experiences, and some of the presenters that we've had at the forum over the years were seeking more training experiences in an environment where they could work quite comfortably in. So we decided at that time that as they've worked hard to do a presentation at the forum and they wanted to create better learning opportunities, they could go ahead and do that. And in the past couple of years that we've had an opportunity to videotape some of these sessions, and we found that it's resolved two issues for us. The sessions that we have now are because we can videotape them so everyone can have a chance to review them. And as you know, when you go to a forum in the morning and there's 20 sessions going on in the morning, and it's impossible to go to all the sessions, to be able to take them in and to be able to have a good input into what's going on at all those sessions. And now, because they're online and they're archived, if you couldn't attend the forum or you couldn't make that particular presentation, you have an opportunity to be able to go online to review it and be able to use that particular presentation. We're going to be developing more trainers, obviously, to support the leadership development in Lionism. And so why do some Lions present at the forums all the time? I guess it's familiarity with some of the people that are selecting these presenters, that we've used them before. So we'll actually talk a little bit about that a little bit later. But so one of the things we have as a committee is to try to develop and try to build our seminars committee, our seminars presentation up, and it's difficult to do that for a weekend event. So we usually have about 70 sessions at the forum. So how do we know who to contact for the upcoming year? And not only the upcoming year, but future years down the road. And one of our biggest challenges, we wanted to have another venue for the Lions to build those skills in a non-pressure situation. And as you can appreciate, when you present at the forum, you're in a room with 100 to 250 people doing a presentation. You don't really have a chance to develop more skills in those at that particular time. So we needed an area where we could have a non-pressure situation where they could be comfortable in presenting at the forum and get some future guidance in how to do that. And I've been involved with the forum leadership for several years, and the doctorate program seemed to fit that particular bill. And what started out as a brainstorming session in Anchorage has developed into the doctorate program. So moving on. So we'd like to kind of ask a question. What makes good leadership experience for trainers? I'd like to ask the question, see if anyone has an answer for that or can be able to provide some input for it.
So this is your first opportunity for audience participation. You can either provide a response in the questions pane, or if you'd like to raise your hand, we will unmute you and hear from you. So Lion David shared, watching others is a good leadership experience for trainers. You could definitely learn a lot from seeing how others do things. And Lion Michael, your hand is raised. I'm not sure if that's recent or from earlier, so I'm going to call on you. And if you don't have a comment, okay, Lion Michael, Benning, are you with us? Okay, we can come back there. Lion Jackie shared knowledge of the topic and knowing how, Lion, hold on a second, I've got the shading isn't showing up. Lion Paul shared knowing how to effectively communicate their message to the audience. That's a good leadership experience. Lion Jackie, I didn't do justice to your phrase previously, but obviously knowledge of the topic. Thank you for sharing that. Lion Chris shared knowledge of your material and knowing it well, particularly as you're presenting and comfortable with that and knowing your audience. Let's see. We have, they're scrolling in quick, hang on a second. Providing homework well in advance, or doing your homework in preparation well in advance. I had a couple of folks mention that preparation up front. Also starting small at the club level and then moving up the stage to perhaps district and others. So that leadership experience, and again, starting in a smaller comfortable zone and building up is an excellent opportunity for us as trainers. And I think that goes back to a good point, past Director Terry, that you mentioned in trying to help develop potential trainers for the forum. These skills can best be used in our clubs with our zones and districts, and then potentially build up to that forum. Let's see, Lyon Connie share being organized and following through with a project is good leadership experience for trainers, as well as good communication with others. Thank you for sharing that. Lyon John shared doing training is good leadership experience for trainers. The more you do training, the better you get. So certainly that practice and experience gives us an opportunity to reflect and get better. Lots of good input coming in. And I don't see any hands raising, so you guys are comfortable using that questions pane this evening. Let's see. Laura shared practice in sharing with small groups and letting them provide feedback. We also have in being a part of the Faculty Development Institute, and we'll hear a little bit more about that as it relates to the doctorate program, but that's certainly a good leadership experience to help with trainers. Other leadership experience that you've shared, being flexible, going through an evaluation, practice, 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 and having a good mentor. So a lot of key characteristics to leadership experience that will help us become better trainers.
A lot of good, excellent points there, Lyon. Wendy, I know that knowledge of your subject's important. I was kind of interested when someone said something about an evaluation forum, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later. I think that's a nice way of kind of ending that particular topic. So let's move on to what do we look for when we look at presenters for the forum and trainers experience. And in the seminars committee today, and Lyon Gemma Wall is doing that to fill our slots when we go to Portland this year. There's going to be 70 to 80 slots in there to do that, and I know she's been working this past fall with her committee to get those positions filled, and this year's getting pretty well full, but we need to be able to have a good base for us to be able to move forward next year and the following years to get proper trainers and proper presenters at the forum. So the trainers experience is really what training experience does a Lyon have? And that's one of the questions that we've always been trying to establish, and like I said before, it's easy to fill some slots from the presenters that we've had in the past because we know they're good presenters and they move on. But I think as we move forward, and we've been in the forum business for over 40 years, we owe it to our attendees and people that want to develop skills to move into a leadership position at that particular time. So prior training successes is extremely important to us, and what the Lyon has done in the past, whether you've been involved with different training experience at the district, the multiple district level, if you've been a trainer at an institute, either as seniors or an emerging Lyon or an FDI, there's all kinds of opportunities, but they're very limited sometimes because we can't get into FDIs. And whether you're training at the multiple district or the district level or the international level, and I guess basically if you're showing your stuff somewhere down the line and your ability to train, and that's part of the success that we look for. And your presentation skills, it's always a question when we look at this, how effective is a Lyon in a forum or a workshop presentation setting, and how well are you doing? Because we're videotaping the session. It gives the seminars committee an opportunity to evaluate the presenter, but those presentation skills need to be developed over the years, and some of the courses that we've had through the other two different doctorate program, or through the two different degree programs, has really helped us out to establish that. So those three reasons with leadership experience and prior successes and presentation skills gives us a better understanding of what great presenters we have in our Lyons family. And as I've gone to the forum for the last 20 plus years, we have some great presenters out there, and we owe it to them to give an opportunity to present at an environment like the forum or at like an institute. So we're going to be building those skills through the doctorate program. So what leadership experience is needed? And did we miss a slide here, Wendy?
Sorry, I got ahead of you. I put it back.
Oh, you got to go one more ahead, I think. All right. we'll go to the doctorate program overview, and of course, that as we said early in the year, or in this presentation, there's only one required course. And you know, if you look at the last two degrees we've had with the bachelor's and the master's, we've had 5 required courses and 10 electives. And in this particular case, we're going to have just the one required course, and that's one we're talking about tonight. And there'll be a quiz at the end, obviously, so this course will be a required one. So we go into the 9 elective courses that we have, and we'll be looking at those two. We're going to discuss all of those particular courses in a little bit of detail. And you know, this as we move into through that, as people that have taken the master's and the bachelor's course, they look at that and say, well, this is kind of going to be a piece of cake. I've only got 1 required and 9 electives. I'll really be able to move forward and do that quite easily. But when you look at the project we have to do after you've completed the 9 elective courses, we want to do something with the knowledge, the tools, and the information that you learned during those courses to be able to put it to use, to be able to do a project. And we're going to talk in quite detail about the project in a couple of minutes. One of the other requirements, of course, will be to complete the master's program and attend the 3rd USA Canada Lyons Leadership Forum. And that'll be 2014 and later. We're in Portland next year, and then back over to the Midwest into Columbia, into Columbus after that. So we'll be moving around the next couple of years. So you take the 3rd one, and attend a faculty development institute or serve as a faculty for our LCI or our LCI conducted or funded course in that particular area. So we're going to be moving on to the next slide, please, Wendy. Yes, these are the elective courses that we have. Obviously, you can see that there's several of them here that have been presented already at the forum. The Death by PowerPoint has been presented. Icebreakers has been there. How to do a webinar. Several of the ones that are already online for us to do now have done, and we've also been working on getting some more of the courses lined up, and there's several people that have been working on these courses to bring them to the in the next few months, so we'll have these completed before the next forum, so everybody will have a chance to do that. So as you move forward to the next slide, Lion Wendy. So the doctor program, delivering a training session. Here we go. I'm trying to get some stuff out of my way here. Develop and deliver a training session to the Lyons group. Now this particular session can be to a Lyons group, and we'll talk a little bit later about it, but it also can be involved with another group. Whether it's a professional group you work with, whether it's a work project you have, it doesn't necessarily have to be a Lyons group, it could be another group. And we're going to videotape the session. We're going to talk a little bit about how to videotape that section, and the next one with uploading the video to be able to provide the materials you use. And some people may use slides, they may use PowerPoint, handouts, and your course outline, etc. can be uploaded and brought to the particular viewing volunteer committee we're going to have. And this is something very new that we're going to try, is to complete a self-evaluation of your presentation video. Sometimes when we do a presentation and we videotape it, we send it in, or we do something with it, or we present it at the forum, even though it's been recorded, we don't go back and look at it. And that's something that we've talked about a little bit. We had a committee discussion on this quite extensively, and what's the best way to evaluate how well the Lyon has done for the video presentation, and actually how well they've done on their presentation. So a self-evaluation will give you a chance to go back and review the videotaping, see how well you did with it, mark down a lot of things, and we'll have a little bit of a view of the evaluation towards the end of this presentation. And then that video will be uploaded, of course, and be reviewed by a peer volunteer group that will review the presentation. They'll offer some feedback and see if there's some way that we can critique a little bit of the presentation and maybe make it just a little bit easier on the individual to change a few things in the presentation and a redo and a correct or redo if it's needed. And I think that's one thing that we have to consider if we're going to be doing valuable videotaping and presentations. If it's not going to be up to the standard that you want to have it, then I think it's something that we need to look at and go back and have a review of it. So let's move on again. So we got our doctorate project, and this must be completely prepared by the presenter, obviously. It's like I said before, it's a subject that you can select and work on and use all the tools that are available for us. It can't be a canned presentation provided by someone else. And by a canned presentation, we look at LCI, and LCI has been extremely good at preparing what we call a canned presentation, or a presentation that they're going to have for maybe district governor-elect school, or at multiple district level. They may have another training session that might be for governors or vice district governors, and they're basically giving all the information you need to do a presentation. They give you the format, they give you the slides, they give you everything that you need to have to do that. And we really want to have something that's more developed by the Lyon to be able to be a presenter and to do a job that's his own or her own. And like I said before, it doesn't have to be a Lyons related program. It could be a general leadership skills, as said. And you know, if you're in a presentation, you may be doing a work presentation for maybe a United Way we have in Canada, and you may want to set that up and videotape that. It could be a diabetic seminar or anything that's related to your job, anything that you have in your professional life that you feel that you may want to be able to videotape and present. And if you're not doing it by yourself, that's all right. You can also videotape that, and as long as you are the main person that we're going to be watching in the video, and we'll be able to have enough information to see your presentation, to see what the tools you're using and what you're doing there, that we'll be able to evaluate what you're doing. So the length of time for that particular video can be, you don't want it so short that we can't evaluate on what you're doing, and you don't want it so long that you lose some of the content of what you're trying to do, because adult learners are a little different than students, and they can only take so much. And if you're going to go for an hour and a half, you're going to lose a lot of your audience, and it's going to be hard for us to review that. So something very common of a half an hour presentation would be quite adequate in that particular form. So as you develop your presentation and work on that. Next slide there, Wendy. Right. So you develop your course, and we use a lot of the things that we've developed here with the presentations, your learning activities, and your group management. And if you go back over to the electives that we talked about earlier in the course here, one more slide, Wendy, yeah. And if you look, we've had some of them. If you go death by PowerPoint and you look at some of the electives that are up here, all very, very important parts of our presentation that we're going to have your death by PowerPoint. And how are you going to do your presentation without having a lesson design or developing some of the curriculum that you want to have? Icebreakers, very, very important. When you get into managing group dynamics and evaluating coaching skills, you may be asked to, as a presenter, to coach someone in how you develop your skills and how you develop your skills and be able to do that. In group dynamics, you may be working in a group that someone challenges what you're saying, so knowing your subject and knowing your topics is extremely important. So all of these electives that are here, and we only need 9 out of the 15 that are showing on here, so there's lots of them to use, but there's a lot of tools in there that you can use to make sure that your presentation goes smoothly and be able to get your message across. So we need to conduct a video session. Obviously, you'll be able to decide where you want to conduct that presentation. It can be a use of a lot of the PowerPoints or flip charts, and includes small slides or whatever you want to have for that. And again, it's going to be answering a lot of questions on different things that you need to have in your presentation. and you videotape the whole session. It's not just a matter of having the camera on you all the time. If you're using a PowerPoint presentation, you scan over to the PowerPoint presentation to see that what you're doing is covering all the topics that we want to see, all the tools you'd use as a good presenter to be able to have the screen showing for the slides, and if you're using flip charts or you're using some kind of a movie part of your presentation, we need to see all of that, but we need to be able to see you and to see how you perform in a presentation situation. So we've got to go on one more. So submitting your project, uploading the video to YouTube, and I'm going to have to go back over to Wendy a little bit on this YouTube and how to do that, because she's more in the technical side of it than I am. And then we can go from applying for your credit after that. But Wendy, do you want to take this away just for a few minutes on this one?
Sure, yes. We looked at a couple of different options, and if you have participated in the earlier webinar or watched the video, we had considered another option for uploading videos, but honestly the video size could be a little bit prohibitive. We've looked at using Dropbox, but what we think will be best for the majority of our participants, because YouTube is free, and since it's connected to Gmail and many of you have Gmail accounts, then you already have an account that corresponds with YouTube, that you can upload that, and there is an option right after you slide your file over to upload it to designate it as unlisted, and that will make the video not be available to anyone who doesn't have the URL or the website address where it's accessible. And so that way you don't have to worry about, if you don't want your recording to be out and available for the public, it doesn't have to be. Certainly if you, for other purposes, use a different video hosting website, then you can use that, and just as part of the submitting and applying for credit, if you just send us the URL link where your video is uploaded, that'll be our easiest way to share that with the peer reviewers, rather than having to deal with file sizes that are pretty large. And Lyons, one of the things that we talked about before starting the webinar this evening was the actual video capability. When we've recorded the videos at the forum, or the seminars at the forum that are just over an hour, those are approximately 3 gigabytes. And so we've used SD data cards on cameras. So if you know someone, or if you have a digital camera that has a card that you can slide in there, you shouldn't have any issues with the capacity. Many of you may also have tablets or cell phones that have enough memory. Certainly you don't need to have an hour seminar. So if you're giving a 15 to 20 minute club program that you want to use for this purpose, it would take less memory, but that would work just as fine as well. So our recommendation is YouTube, because it's free for all of you, and you can keep it unlisted and not publicly available if you prefer. But certainly if you use other video uploading services, what we really just need is the web address that we can share with our peer reviewers.
That's good. Thank you, Wendy. One of the other things that's on the slide here, July the 15th deadline for our submission for this year. If you want to graduate, if you want to have your courses completed, you want to graduate by the forum in Portland, we do need some lead time. I know Lyons Wendy has had some growing pains in developing the graduation as we've gone through the last couple of years, and we find if we push right to the end, we can't get the proper certificates made up and the pins ready to go, and all the information that we need to verify what we're doing with this particular doctorate program. And you can appreciate a volunteer peer group or a peer committee reviewing some of the information that's going to come in and some of the uploaded videos that's going to come in, that we need some time to do that and give proper feedback to the attendees for the graduation. I talked a little bit about the redo or the review, and I think basically what that means is that we'll be able to have a look at your self-evaluation. We'll be able to evaluate the information that we had from the video. But one of the big things that we have is if it's not complete, if we haven't got enough information to do a good evaluation of your project and what you're doing, then we may have to go back and ask you to re-videotape it to correct a few things in it to give us the proper information that we have and to be able to move forward and have a graduating in Portland or the next forum the following year. The self-evaluation is something that's fairly new for us to do. I think that it's something good. I'm going to just kind of ask a question when the people that are on the webinar tonight, what do they feel about a self-evaluation? Is it a useful tool for us? If anyone has an idea and they want to put their hand up, then go ahead and we can unmute you, or we can go with the online type in.
Let's see, I'm going to call on Lyon Nancy.
Hi, I find that self-evaluations, you're generally a lot harder on yourself than your peers are, and I think it's a good exercise. We used to use it in staff evaluations where I worked. It was a bit daunting at first, but I think everybody really thought that it was a worthwhile thing to do.
I think it gives, thank you, Nancy, I think it gives one of the evaluators and volunteer evaluators that we're going to have to look at this. It'll give them a baseline on how the Lyon felt about their presentation, and like you say, hopefully they'll say, I think you're being too hard on yourself, and you've done a good job.
Let's see, Lyon Julian?
I feel that self-evaluation is very important, because what happens is that you will be seeing what your audience is seeing. And if you realize that things are a little bit, you can fix it, because you want to see the reaction from your audience, and then you can fix it. I find I'm involved in self-management with health professionals, and we do that a lot. And it really makes our presentation in the future much, much better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lyon Maria. Or Maria? Okay, how about Lyon Paul?
I like self-evaluation because I learned it in speech class in both college and high school, because they make you go back and watch yourself, and you have to do an evaluation sheet. And I always found that good because I felt like that always made me a better speaker.
Thank you. I think many of you and a few of the other folks that had posted responses in the questions pane are reinforcing the conversation that our team had, and quite frankly, we think that you'll learn more from this process by the self-evaluation than just the peer review. Because I know I've had that experience where you take feedback from others, but whether it's a couple of you have mentioned being your own worst critic or being more critical of yourselves, that's where we have our best learning opportunities of what would we do differently. So thank you for sharing that, and for those of you that shared similar comments in the questions pane. The self-evaluation, I think, is going to be an important addition to this process.
Good. The next slide there, Wendy, we'll move on. So this is what our team is going to be looking at when the leadership team, when we get your video in, we'll be reviewing the self-evaluations, and like I said before, I think that, and I've heard many comments here just in the last few minutes about how the presenter is more hard on themselves, and probably the people that are viewing, they may not see your your evaluation as being negative and being positive, so we'll hope to get some good reviews back from that. We're going to be assigning some peer reviewers to you, and I think when you hand in your documentation for your video, it's important that you have a valid email address or a telephone that people can get into contact with you to discuss some of your evaluations and how they feel about it. They'll review your submissions and your supporting material, obviously, and provide a feedback either electronically or by telephone, and possibly that most of our review peer people will know a lot of the Lyons that are going to be sending stuff in, and then that kind of will determine if it's complete. And by complete, it's very hard when you're looking at a video and you're trying to grade somebody, whether you put a passing grade on. As you know, in the last 2 degree programs we've had, a 70% is a pass. So do you have a passing grade on something that and we had a very detailed discussion on what we would have as a passing grade, and we found that very difficult to do, to turn somebody down and then go back and say, well, you have to repeat because you missed this or you missed that. And we decided that we would go and review it and give all the positive feedback we could to reinforce the project and what the Lyon is doing for that, so we'll be able to go ahead and do an evaluation. And like I said before, if we found it was incomplete, there was not enough material in there using either videos, I'm not saying you have to use a video or you have to use a PowerPoint, but make sure that all the tools that you're using for the presentation is going to be presented in a fashion where the reviewer can actually make a good evaluation of what the material was about and the presentation skills of the presenter. So that was what we're going to do for determine if complete, and then of course then we'll electronically send you a graduation, and we'll be able to move forward from there. So next slide, Wendy.
Terry, can I offer one other piece on the determining if complete? That sounds pretty subjective, but I think one of the key elements to us is how serious you take the self-evaluation, because it's, I think, all about how we can improve as trainers and presenters. And so that, if you submit a self-evaluation saying I was amazing and I wouldn't do anything different, it may have been pretty amazing, but I don't think I've ever presented something that I didn't wish I would have done a little bit differently or handled or looked at how I would handle something different in the future. And so that, I think, is going to be a big part of that criteria for complete is what you learned about yourself and going through this process.
Yes, I agree. That's great. So questions. Have we got any questions about the whole program and how we're going to be bringing it online and
We had one question earlier because a couple of the folks online have been presenters at prior forums or at other events. And if you already have a recording of another event or one is accessible that you would like to use for this purpose, that is fine. And so that is an option versus doing something new between now and July 15th. And so that is, let's see, one question that came through. We also had a question about the criteria and the evaluation, and we'll put that on the form here or on the screen in just a few minutes after we see if there are any other questions about the process of what we have going forward.
I will say, Wendy, that anyone that has done a presentation at the forum has been videotaped. We'll still need the self-evaluation of that particular video for them?
Yes, but they wouldn't necessarily need to record a new.
No, you're right.
We talked about the length, and I don't remember, there's not a prescribed length. We would recommend a minimum of the 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, I would think between 20 and 25 minutes if you're going to use some PowerPoint slides and be able to get a good feedback from the audience. I know there may be questions coming from the audience that the presenter has, and it gives us a chance to see some of the responses by the presenter on almost like a managing the group dynamics part of that, where you can manage your group and be able to answer questions properly.
And I think the nice thing about that duration is many club programs are about that and then can go longer, but that way most participants would have an opportunity to present a program at either their own club or a nearby club, and so the opportunity to present is easier with that type of duration. But it certainly can be longer, but that would be the minimum I think that we would look for.
Definitely. As you can see on your screens, the doctorate, the Lyons University doctorate pin that's on there, it's a little bit with three emeralds on there, I guess, and they're it's quite a dashing pin to be able to hand out. And I must say, when we were handing the degrees out and the pins out and the certificates out when we were in Omaha and again before that in Grand Rapids, how much people were saying they're looking forward to the doctorate program. They're excited about completing the other two programs and moving forward into the doctorate program. So we're quite excited to present that, and over the next month we'll be having some more online learning. There's going to be more webinars coming up in the next month to 6 weeks, and hopefully we'll have all of our developers have their programs ready, so we'll be able to have a good selection for everybody by the time they get their ready to do their presentation, have it in by the 15th of July, and we'll be able to have enough to cover the 9 electives that we have. And we've got quite a few already that's in the books and ready to go. Any other questions, Wendy?
Yeah, there was another question about the Faculty Development Institute and the opportunities for Lyons to attend to that. Would you like to address that?
We've just got back online where we're getting more faculty development institutes. For a year they dropped them. We've talked to LCI on the subject of the faculty development institutes and bringing them back on into North America, and we've been successful in doing that. And I don't mean LCI has been successful in moving forward on that. We've got, and I realized that we realized early that a lot of people couldn't go to the Faculty Development Institute for whatever reason, either location, finances, or they've had other people in their district or multiple district that wanted to go and they got bumped out and couldn't go. So that's why we've been kind of expanding our base, where we'll take other areas that we can, and regional institutes and that sort of thing that we can use for credentials in that area.
I think Paul may have a question. I think I accidentally lowered your hand a moment ago. Paul, you're unmuted.
Does being a prior presenter at a U.S.-Canada count as a prerequisite under that faculty development, regional development prerequisite?
That's a good question. We've had that discussion. Wendy, we had quite a few discussions on all the different things we've had.
It does not currently. So right now it's the attendance at a Faculty Development Institute or being a faculty member for a regional Lyons Leadership Institute like the Great Plains in your area or Southeastern in mine, or some of the multiple districts have sponsor Lyons Leadership Institutes. That may be something that we look at in the future, but that's not currently.
Yeah, and basically, if you're a faculty on an LCI conducted or in a funded leadership, then they have a curriculum that you follow, and that's basically what we're looking for, is to be able to follow that curriculum in a, I guess, a canned presentation in a way, and follow that and be able to have that on your finish to do that. With instead of the faculty development, to go into something that LCI has had in their regional institute will be a good sign for that, and your senior and your emerging Lyons institutes.
Lyons, I'm going to go ahead and pause the presentation and call up the evaluation form. And for everyone's information, if you go to the course page for the 300 course, it is now downloadable directly there as a Word document for you to fill out. But let me call that up and show you what it looks like. So it will be the same form that you would use as a self-evaluation or that a peer reviewer would use. And again, it's basically, there isn't a scoring criteria. It's just for the different elements that we'll walk down through in a moment. You know, what worked well in the presentation or what could have been more effective and should be considered to have a more effective presentation in the future. So we have a couple of development criteria relative to the content and your structure and the purpose of your presentation and how you use different examples or stories and data.
One thing, Wendy, this is a writable document that you can just start typing in, and your space will expand as you need more space. So you're not going to have to type them out and scan them in and send them in. It should be a document you save and be able to send in with your other information.
Yes, that's correct. And even the little box is checkable for which evaluation this is. But all of these you can just type your notes and it will expand as needed and then just carry over in the Word documents. We've got the, effectiveness of your presentation, the physical presentation. One of the questions that hasn't come up, but what we talked about is whether a webinar would be acceptable for this, and we decided for this purpose because of the different electives and skills that we're looking for, we did want this to be a physical presentation in person. And you can see the criteria or the elements for voice, your manner in dealing with questions and facilitating discussion. And then the last two boxes are just unique to the self-evaluation and would not be filled out by your peer reviewers.
And that'll be the same form we're going to use. Our peer review team will look for at that particular form and add comments to it too. So that'll be good to be able to do that. And I see there's lots of room to make comments about your presentation. So that'll be an excellent way of doing a good evaluation on yourself.
So again, that's available and you can download that currently on the website.
So is there no more questions, Wendy?
Kevin has a question, but I'm not sure. Could you please repeat from where to start the evaluation? So what we would look for are your general comments of your presentation as a whole. When you go to the Lyons University website, you can go to the doctorate program and the page for the 300 course, and the Word document is available there for you to download and use. That answers your question. Good, thank you. And Paul, do you have another question?
No.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
So I guess our objectives tonight were to provide an overview of our doctorate program, and I think we've covered quite a few of the items that we wanted to cover there, and of course the detailed project requirements and the process, and I think that's the most important part of this session tonight, was to be able to cover the project, answer any questions that you may have for the project, to make sure that you understand exactly what it is and be able to complete the evaluation, and hopefully it's going to be a fun experience that you'll be able to do the presentation, to be able to see in person, so to say, when you're doing that, to be able to evaluate and get a good feel of how you did, and be able to give that to us, and we'll do a review and get back to you with the results and how we felt that the presentation was done. So Wendy, I think, is there anything else you want to talk about the uploading and downloading, or is that fairly clear with everybody?
Nothing else specific, but I will include a couple of text instructions directly on the course page, as well as when the page is set up for you to submit and request credit. So you can follow along there without necessarily needing to come back through the video. And you talked about this project being fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to doing my own. And those of you who have experienced it so far know that graduation is fun. And we really appreciate the support that those of you that have participated and been able to graduate have come to enjoy that, but also the support that you've given to the other Lions in your area and those that have graduated. So we will be continuing that at the Portland Forum and for the foreseeable future at other upcoming forums. And so please encourage others to participate and come celebrate with us.
And don't forget the quiz to finish that up, to finish up your session tonight. And that'll be, obviously it's right on the page where you can find it.
All right, and that's our last slide. So any final questions that you have? Otherwise, we'll leave this page up for a couple moments, and we'll look forward to seeing you on future upcoming webinars.
Thank you, Wendy, for all your help tonight.
You're welcome.
Good night, everyone. Good night, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening.